Hey, folks. It's your friendly modeling buddy Brian here. Another episode of Boss Build. So I think this is episode 26. It's 26 already. Now that's not just 26 of the Hulk, is it? Oh my gosh, long time. It's been a while, months and months and months of working on the Hulk, but I'm happy to say he's finished. Or I should say, he's finished as far as I'm concerned. This is him right here, if you want to pull back and get the shot. This is what I'm calling finished figure of the Hulk. I've been looking at him for a while. He's been kind of finished for a long time, and I've been hemming and hawing on what to do. I talked a big game during the build of this. I was going to do all these different multiple washes and different colors with blacks and dark greens and lighter greens and doing all this and try to do all this super fancy weathering and all and dry brushing and pastel powders and all this kind of stuff. But then when I finally got it to the almost finished stage, and I kept looking at it, and I would sit down at the desk and say, about to jump in, mixing up a wash to slap the wash on him, and I'd say, man, he just kind of looks cool the way he is. And this probably happens to a lot of you out there. You get to a certain stage and you're like, should I take it to the next stage? Should I do something different? It looks pretty cool now. I'd hate to ruin it. And ruin it not in as much as making a mistake and putting a hole in the model or melting the paint or something like that, but ruin it in as much as, oh, you really like the way it looks right now, and if you add some more steps to it, you might not like it as much. And that's kind of where I was with this Hulk here. I really liked the shading I got and the texture, and I thought, as much as green skin can look, I thought it looked pretty cool and realistic. So I just decided to stop right there. And although I did do some on it, as you can see here, it's not exactly as it was last time. Just to kind of recap, and I'll give you kind of the flow of what I've been doing on the last time. The last episode we shot was I tried to make something a little more interesting out of the base. And so that's what I did. You saw the masking, used some gray, black, and some white, and some masking tape. Didn't spend much time at all, and came up with a fairly decent base. So what I did with that is I used a little Tamiya NATO black mixed in with some other blacks, and I used this handy dandy thing. I think Jello or something was in this to mix it up. Using some thinner and this to make a nice thin combination, and just using a brush, slurped it on there. Of course, Hulk wasn't standing here when I did that. Slurped that all on there, wiped it off a little bit, and got a slightly dirty base. So it's not like an ancient cracked ruin road, but cars have been on it. And then using that same mix from here, I used good old Tamiya HG Trigger airbrush, now available at HobbyLink Japan, to sort of spray on some tire wear and things like that. A lot of people wrote in with some suggestions like, oh, you could take like model car tires and roll them on there. No problem with that. There aren't a lot of 1/9 scale model cars out there. Of course, you could use all kinds of tires and look on there. But the only problem I would see with that is, if you look at roads, you don't usually see, unless it's like raining or someone drove through mud or oil, you don't see like a tire tread type pattern on there. Of course, now there'll be a flood of photos saying, oh, here's one. But generally, when you look at the road, there's just sort of a hazy, brownish, grayish, black place where all the tires, cars have been driving and the rubber gets laid down. So using the airbrush, I just did that using the same wash I used. I just kept spraying it on there. And to be honest, I didn't get exactly the effect I was looking for. I could have spent more time on that. Maybe actually using a slightly thicker or darker version of the thing might have made it but it looks okay. I think it's all right the way it is. Again, as with anything, you take your time and spend more time on it, you'll get better results. So as I mentioned, I was, what am I going to do? And then finally just came to the conclusion, all right, bam, I'm going to do it. Spent about 5 hours on it the night before last just to get it done for you, the audience at home. And now it's done. Well, I can pick them up here and show you some other things around here. There's his rear end, his incredible back musculature. I think the hair turned out pretty well. One thing I was slightly concerned about is the last time I used the spray can version of the flat coat, and it gives it sort of a semi-gloss look, but I went back with my favorite go-to flat medium here is, this is the Gunzei Sangyo. What is this? This is it's Mr. Hobby, the Aqueous Hobby Color, water-based flat, and this gets everything pretty much flat, and just mix it with water and bam, you get a pretty flat coat. So I was happy with that. And I did the whole thing, including the base, with that flat, and then kind of went back with a soft handkerchief and sort of buffed the flesh areas here to give it sort of a more slightly flesh-like sheen. Another thing I was concerned about is the pants. When I used the previous semi-gloss type flat coat, Gave it really, they really looked like some leather type pants, and I think they've gotten knocked down a little bit. Still a little more sheen than I would like, but I'm not disappointed in that. And other things I did to finish him up. One thing I did do wash. I didn't do an overall slop wash as I was planning on doing, or various washes, but I did use, again, very similar to the wash I did here, and a very tiny brush, and just went in and picked out, I guess you can call these pin washes kind of, just went in and put some very specific washes in between the fingers around here. And also picked out his fingernails, his big thumbnails there, and did the same with his feet. Just went in here, in between his little tootsies there, and some on the nails to get just, a little bit different color separation there. And I think that's the biggest weakness of the pre-painted kit, which we'll do a close-up comparison in a minute. But the pre-painted kit, they didn't seem to do any washes or whatever, and there's a lot of light in those spaces, which make it look a little less realistic. I think I'd actually done the face before, picking out the wrinkles and stuff like that, but the final thing I did to the face, if you can get in close there, I don't know if you can see his sparkling, twinkling eyes, is I used some Future Floor Polish. I was actually going to bring it in, forgot to bring it in. I think it's still called Future Floor Wax or something. It's an acrylic wax, I think, available in the United States. It's available in Europe and other parts of the world under different names, but it's just an acrylic floor wax. That's super shiny. A lot of modelers use it. It's popular with aircraft modelers for making really clear and bright canopies. You can literally dip it in Future, the canopy, and you get a really crystal clear canopy. Some people use it to spray their models in preparation for decals because it makes a really nice, glossy, smooth finish, and it's pretty much impervious to anything. So I used it on the Hulk just to get his eyes and teeth and mouth that that wet and alive look. So he's got, I think his eyes are nice and twinkling. I don't know if I can catch a glint of the sparkle here. And just a point about painting eyes, I see a lot of, one of the standard conventions in painting eyes, particularly big anime eyes and stuff like that, is a lot of people paint in the shine. You put the iris and the pupil or whatever, and then they put a big blob of white in one part of it to make it look like the shine. And I always thought, why would you do that? I mean, if you have an eyeball that's the right shape, and you paint it nicely and put gloss on it, you should naturally get that little shine. And every time I look at the Hulk, that's what I think. I didn't go in and put a little dot of white on there to give that, well, did they do it too? Bless their hearts, they did not do it. But you see on a lot of the pre-painted figures, there's that little dot of the shine of the glint and the happiness and the joy of living in the eyes. And I think you get that naturally. If you just paint the eye nicely and make it nice and glossy, you should get that natural glint on there. You can say, well, Brian, you painted all the shadows and stuff in his muscles. Different. It's completely different. Don't let anyone tell you different. But yeah, because the muscles could be different colors and the tension of the skin and all that other completely valid scientific reasons for doing shading on the muscles. But doing that on the eyes, I would just go, make it shiny. Anyway, long discussion about shiny eyes, but I highly recommend it. So Future floor polish, if I can even say it, Future Floor Polish Wax. If you can get it, works great for anything that you want to be shiny. Of course, you can just use regular gloss. If you have any kind of gloss that you want to use, that's fine. I'd actually had, this is the flat version, but I had the gloss version of this that I can also use. But Future Floor Wax works really well. As I just spit all over the Hulk's base. It just adds to the road finish. All right, so that's pretty much what I did to wrap him up. I glued him together. As you can see here, I used just a cheap 1,000 yen, about a $10 hair dryer. To heat up the vinyl and get a good finish or a good fit together there. So the legs, popped them in, and as you can recall way back in the early days of building this, it has like these mushroom-shaped things, so you can literally just pop it together and be done with it, but it's a little loose and doesn't fit that tightly. So I had cut those mushroom flanges off, and so I can get a good flush fit. And for the most part, it worked pretty good around the waist there. It looks good. The knees are good. The only slight point of contention is the back section here doesn't fit perfectly, but again, if you just face them like this, you'll never see that. Another thing I should do, actually, you can see part of the plastic or the vinyl here, this back should not be there basically. So you could either go in there and carve it out if you're really ambitious, or what I should have done is just gone in and painted this a darker color so it doesn't stand out so much. But you really can't see that, and I'm actually fairly happy with it. But if you're shooting for the gold at the contest, there are some other things you could do. And as we mentioned before, I could have spent more time on getting the neck seam filled, but again, from the right angle, you'll never notice it. So happy with that. I think his belly button turned out pretty well. Got that there as I knock over the other Hulk. The legs all fit like that good. And as I mentioned before, you can bolt this guy to the stand. Actually, it comes with one screw. It's kind of like just a self-tapping wood screw type thing. And they put a little dot on the bottom of his foot to guide you through the process. This one did not have it, so I just grabbed whatever little screw I had laying around just to get him a little more stable on there. Another point I can make about getting him on the stand, on the base, if you're building this at home, is I worked hard to get the best fit with the legs into the sockets there. Then when I put him on the base, he's kind of got this leaning back a little bit kind of thing, which if I'd have worked a little more with the heat as I was putting him on the base, I could have probably, finessed him a bit to get him to stand up right. But as he is now, I've got both feet screwed in there, and that's pretty much where he's going to be from now on. You can kind of tilt the base like this. He's kind of up. Maybe not. So anyway, well, let me get these things out of the way. The next portion of our program will be, let's compare. This is the one. This is the non-painted kit. This is just it was unpainted, as you saw out of the box. Oh, if we had another one here, I could show you what it looked like. It was this, limey, greeny, candy-looking color. Obviously not painted. And we were selling that one. This, by the way, this is discontinued, sold out. You might be able to find them in some other shops around the world somewhere. But I highly recommend it. A fun kit. And we were selling this for. Let me check my figures here. We were selling this good kit at our discounted price. It was about 3,300 yen, which is about $33. US in US dollars. And the pre-painted kit, which was pre-painted, but you still had to pop it together, which I actually glued it together here for stability's sake. And that kit was about twice the price. We were selling it for about, I can't even read it. Where did it go? 6,500 yen, which is about $65. So yeah, it was roughly twice the price, but you don't have to do any painting if you're happy with the painting the way it is there. Well, let's talk about that. Well, first of all, this wasn't really a competition, but of course when you're building something and there's already a pre-painted version of it, you would like to actually do it a little bit better than what you think the pre-painted one was. But let's talk about where I obviously couldn't win, and that was the base. The base that comes with the pre-painted kit is awesome. It's when I first introduced this a while back, I was saying, well, this is a pretty shiny street, and then someone chimed in and said, Brian, that's probably Tony Stark's building room in the final scene where Hulk gets to beat the crap out of Loki. And yeah, that's probably what it is, a shiny linoleum look. I don't know what color is this. What color is this? Green? I can't. You guys, you can write in and tell me. Colorblind, remember? But yeah, nice and shiny. So this base is really cool. And this base, unless you do something to it, is just very plain. It was just a black piece of plastic. Of course, more ambitious modelers could go crazy and build it up to whatever they want. I took the easy route. Let me brush all this stuff off here. What is this? Is this just spit flying everywhere? My gosh, put a muzzle on that guy. But yeah, with some simple technique, you can make a slightly interesting stand. All right, so obviously I lose with the base because this base is pretty cool. And I even thought of, well, I'll just take this one for myself, but no, I'm proud of my work there. All right, well, let's get the base out of the way because there's no way I can compete with that. Now, the Hulk. Obviously, the parts are exactly the same. There's no difference, except, as I mentioned before, in the pre-painted one, they fill the lower legs here with plaster or something. Maybe, it seemed to be plaster. I'll tell you a story about trying to drill a hole in it later. Excuse me. But, we basically went for the same things, trying to define the musculature, do some shading on the pants and all that. And although what Dragon didn't do is they didn't paint any of the base colors on here. This is basically the color of the resin. Not the resin, vinyl, as are the pants. They basically came this color, and what they did is they just layered some paints on top of that to get the musculature, the definition, and all that. And the face, of course, they painted. And I think this is very fine. This, to me, this looks more like a comic book version type, or more of an anime style coloration. I think with the help of Ryan and other folks around here, I got the color a little closer to the movie version with my version of the Hulk here. And again, that was just going through all the different paints we had and trying to find out what was better. I just thought this was a very candy-looking pop style, too bright colors like that. But they did a good job on the shading and all that right there. And as far as the faces go, I'm kind of leaning towards mine again. Of course, I'm very partial because I think mine's better. But anyway, I think they did a good job on the eyes, actually. They're perfect as far as shape and color separation and getting everything in there goes. Mine are a little sloppier. I don't know what process they use here, if it's temp printing or what. There's a whole variety of techniques now used to mass produce these kind of things. But for a mass produced mass painted figure, this is not bad. I think where they go a little crazy with this is the face is really dark. If you see here, it's like he's been working in a coal mine, or shoveling coal in a steam locomotive or something. So he's got this really dark. I know they were trying to just get shading or whatever in there, but to me it's not quite realistic. And they've got some sort of this white, nice, like Yamamba Shibuya girl lip gloss on him or something here, which is kind of funky. And I just kind of went darker like that to keep it a little more realistic. So overall, I think my face is a little more realistic. And yeah, they got a little stark coloration with the eyes in there, so it kind of pops out. But this is all stuff you could take care of later. I mean, if you bought this and wanted to weather it up a little bit, you could tone it down and get it closer to what I think is a more realistic look. The pants, I think, are comparably similar. They might have used a few different colors in there to get a little more separation or whatever, but I think we both went for the same thing, painted the little metal rivets and whatever on the jeans, I guess are supposed to be. So overall, I think that's about the same. The hair, I did a little more dry brushing on the hair, because checking out some of the CG images of the character they used in the movie, he's got quite a bit of gray in his hair to match Bruce Banner's look in the movie as well. Obviously, nothing done with the seams on this, because it's just popped on there. So, but even then, my seam is not much better, to be honest. But there we go. So, from that view, again, I think I nailed the color a little better. Some people have pointed out, and I would kind of agree, as I went on doing more colors on here, kind of lost some of the shading and the definition, so I wish that could have popped out a little bit more. And that's one of the things I was kind of hoping I could get back with the wash, so... but I was too chicken and didn't want to. I liked the way it was looking. So, but you see real human beings in the musculature. Of course, no one's quite as buff as the Hulk. There are some pretty buff people out there, though. And aside from the definition, though, you don't really see different colors on muscles and stuff like that, unless you've got a really good eye, which maybe I don't. But anyway, I think this looks good and natural as compared to the more cartoony look of this one, and that's not a put down. It looks cool. I think when I first saw this on display at one of the hobby stores, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna get that. Because I thought it was only going to be a pre-built pre-paint, but then when they came out with the kit, we figured we'd do this one for the show. All right, so that's pretty much it for the comparison there. I'm sure you all have your opinions at home as to which one you prefer. And right now, the only one we have on sale, put them in the similar angle here, is the pre-painted one, and we still got a few left. Actually, I can tell you exactly how many we have left. If you guys want to rush to your computers, the pre-painted kit we have a grand total of 2. There are 2 available. 2 available for you now. So if you want to get this guy and paint him up, there you go. As I mentioned before, we don't have any, it's discontinued as far as our availability goes, but you might be able to find it in other shops around the world. So if you want to try your hand at painting a figure, there you go. And speaking of painting figures, I think I'm fairly satisfied with how this turned out. I wish I could have been more decisive and spent more time and had a little more patience in finally finishing it up. But I think it's not bad, considering I haven't actually built a figure like this in, what have I been saying, 20 years, 15 years? It's been a long time since I built a vinyl figure and any kind of humanoid figure. It's all been tanks, aircraft, and sci-fi subjects and Godzillas and stuff like that, which are a little bit different than doing something like this. But I essentially applied the same techniques I knew how to use, and this is the result I got. So I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys learned something during the epic odyssey. How long has it been? 7, 8, 9 months since I started this? Yowza. But even though 7, 8, 9 months, it was only about, geez, I don't know, 2 weeks of actually working on the thing. As we've mentioned before, I got the little boy in the house, and it's hard to find the time, or hard to make the time when you got a cute little guy running around the house that you really want to spend your time with. And anyone out there who's a parent and has children knows exactly what I'm talking about. But if you do find the time and you do love building models like I do, you can take a 2-week project and stretch it out over 9 months. So sorry for taking so long, but here we are. I'm finally finished, and a good comparison. Again, I hope it showed you some things. Now, another point I want to make, as I always do here at Boss Builds, is the techniques I'm showing and things I'm suggesting these are things that I know how to do and work for me and gets the results that I want to get. But there's probably a billion of you out there who are 1,000 times better modelers than I am, and you're going, why would you do that? Hey, Brian, you idiot, don't do that, do this. And that's fine. If you've got a better way that you think doing it, A-OK. Write in and tell us about it. But you know, everything I'm showing here is just the techniques I know how to use with the airbrush, with washes, painting, and all that. And you know, for those of you who find that useful, then that's excellent. And I hope it was useful for some of you out there. So that's it. We're done. Finally, after 9 months, we're done with the Hulk here. So what's next? What's next with Boss Builds? Well, I don't know if I'm going to jump into another big building of a specific kit from this point on, but we do have some exciting plans for doing some spot technique videos, short 5 or 10 minute videos that are going to show you how we do the things we do, the techniques, like things that I've done in here with the airbrush, or things I've shown you before, like stretching sprue and the tank kit build I did a while back. We're going to take those individual techniques and do short little videos of that. And again, these aren't, well, they're kind of how-to videos, but they're not like, these are how you do it videos. They're going to be, these are how we do it. You might find it useful too type videos. And again, it's going to be things like stretching sprue, using an airbrush, choosing an airbrush. What airbrush is better for you? We'll give you our opinions on that. Mixing paints for airbrushing, polishing paints on cars, which Scott has shown you in a video before. So some of these things we've already done in videos, but they're buried in these videos in this massive archive that we have. So we're going to have this separate section. I'm not even sure what we're going to call it yet. What was it? Hobby School Japan? Something like that? We're still thinking on the name like that. If you have any suggestions, please write in. We'll consider everything. Hobby Tech, HobbyLink Tech Vids, anything like that. So still kind of up in the air, but we've got a pretty good idea of what we want to do. And hopefully you'll find that useful too. So it's going to be a continuing series. We're going to try to do one a week. And again, there's going to be short little videos showing you interesting technique and how to apply it. Hopefully you'll find it useful in your modeling too. So again, wrapping up the Hulk. Hulk says bye, Brian says bye, and we'll see you on the next episode of either Boss Builds, or probably even sooner than that, the new Hobby School Japan Tech Vid, whatever we're going to call it. So we'll see you there. Take care.